Every day, over 5 million people step onto it without a second thought. They call it the tube, they complain about the delays, they read their books and stare at their phones. But almost none of them know what they're actually standing on. Beneath their feet is a buried river that hasn't seen daylight in over a century. A hidden railway that nobody was ever allowed to ride. A station built directly on top of a plague pit, holding over 1,000 bodies. And a map, the one hanging in every carriage. The one tourists trust completely, that is, geographically speaking, a lie. This is a London Underground. The oldest, strangest, most secretive transport system on Earth. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at that map the same way again. So have you ever wondered what's actually underneath London? Stick around, because fact number 1 will change the way you see this city forever. Let's start counting down. Fact 25. Let's start at the beginning, the actual beginning. The oldest underground line in the world is the Metropolitan Line, which opened on the 10th of January, 1863. Steam trains, hauling Victorian passengers through brick tunnels, over 160 years ago. Every underground railway on the planet, New York, Paris, Tokyo, owes its existence to this one line. Built beneath London first. Fact 24. Here's a strange imbalance most Londoners never notice. Less than 10% of stations are south of the River Thames. The vast majority of the entire network sits north of the water. One river, quietly splitting the city into 2 completely different levels of connectivity. Fact 23. Some stations don't even look like stations. A few stations don't have buildings above ground at all. These include Regent's Park, Piccadilly Circus, Hyde Park Corner, and Bank. No grand entrance. No visible structure, just a staircase or a subway leading straight down into the earth, hidden in plain sight. Fact 22. If you've ever gotten lost changing lines, there is a good reason. Baker Street is the station with the most platforms. At 10, an entire underground maze built beneath one intersection, engineered to somehow keep 10 separate platforms from colliding into chaos. Fact 21. Out of all 11 lines on the network, one stands apart. The Jubilee Line is the only line that touches all others. Every single other line on the map connects to it somewhere. It's the quiet, central nervous system of the entire underground, the one thread holding the whole tangled network together. Fact 20. Now for something strange hiding in plain sight. On the map itself, there are only 2 tube station names that contain all 5 vowels: Mansion House and South Ealing. Out of hundreds of station names built up over 160 years of history, only these 2 accidentally spell out the entire alphabet's vowels. Fact 19. Follow the Central Line far enough east, and London simply stops trying. The largest tube car park is at Epping, with 599 parking spots. It's the exact point where dense city infrastructure gives way to countryside, the last outpost of the underground, before England takes back over. Fact 18. Not every fact down here is lighthearted. In 1987, smoking in the stations and trains was banned for a 6-month trial period. The ban was made permanent that year, after a discarded match started the King's Cross fire, killing 31 people. A single match on an old wooden escalator changed underground safety law forever. Fact 17. Then there's a legend that refuses to die. London folklore claims the Piccadilly Line takes a swerve near Knightsbridge in order to avoid disturbing an old burial ground beneath the streets. Engineers deny it's anything but a technical necessity, but ride that stretch of track, and you'll feel the curve for yourself. Fact 16. And finally, before we go deeper, a fact about life itself, not just infrastructure. At least 3 babies have entered the world on the underground. One of them, born at East Finchley Station during the Blitz, when the platforms doubled as bomb shelters, grew up to become the television host Jerry Springer. A life that began underground, hiding from the war above. Fact 15. Now let's talk about the name itself, because it's already lying to you. The London Underground isn't really underground. Despite the name, about 55% of the London Underground is actually above ground. Out in the suburbs, the tube climbs out of its tunnels entirely, running through open countryside on ordinary railway tracks. So the next time someone calls it the underground, Remember, more than half the time, it isn't. Fact 14. And speaking of the surface, there is a station that breaks the image completely. Amersham, out at the western edge of the network, isn't just the furthest station from central London, it's also the highest point on the entire system, sitting roughly 150 meters above sea level, surrounded by rolling Chiltern countryside. Somewhere out there, a tube train is running through fields and hills, about as far from a dark underground tunnel as you can imagine. Fact 13. Now here's a line most Londoners forget even exists. The Waterloo and City line, nicknamed the Drain, connects just 2 stations. That's it. No branches, no scenic route. Just a straight underground dash, built purely to get commuters from Waterloo into the City of London and back. It's the smallest, strangest little line hiding inside one of the biggest networks on the planet. Fact 12. Now let's go deep, properly deep. At 58.5 meters below street level, Hampstead is London's deepest underground station. To put that in perspective, that's deeper than Nelson's Column is tall, stacked underground. And the reason is pure geography. Hampstead sits on top of a hill, so even though the tunnel depth is fairly normal, the distance down from the surface is enormous. Fact 11. Sticking with extremes, there's a single escalator on this network that feels like it never ends. Angel Station is home to the longest escalator on the London Underground, stretching 60 meters in length. Stand at the top, and you genuinely cannot see the bottom. Fact 10. But depth isn't the only strange measurement down here. Distance gets weird too. The shortest distance between stops is just 260 meters, meaning on some parts of the network, you could walk from one station to the next, faster than the train could get you there. Fact 9. Now we get into the real secrets. Long before the Underground existed, London had rivers: the Fleet, the Walbrook, the Tyburn, flowing openly through the city. As London grew, those rivers were buried, covered over, turned into sewers and culverts. But they never disappeared. Engineers building the tube had to tunnel around and beneath these hidden waterways. And to this day, sections of the Underground still cross paths with rivers most Londoners don't even know exist under their own city. Fact 8. And it's not just rivers hiding down there, it's history. Buried literally in the walls, Aldgate and Liverpool Street stations sit atop ancient burial sites, with thousands of bodies buried below. Aldgate alone has over 1,000 plague victims underfoot. Every single day, thousands of commuters walk directly above one of London's forgotten mass graves without knowing it. Fact 7. Now, not every station on the map is still in use. There are 49 ghost stations scattered across the network, some abandoned, some closed, some that were built and then simply never opened to the public at all. Trains still pass through some of them today, their platforms frozen in time, lit only by the flicker of passing carriages. Fact 6. One of those hidden spaces has an especially dramatic past. Down Street Station, closed to the public since the 1930s, was secretly converted into a bunker during the Second World War, reportedly used by Winston Churchill's cabinet, before the more famous war rooms were ready. A ghost station turned wartime command center, buried beneath the streets of Mayfair. Fact 5. And here's one almost nobody knows about. London doesn't just have one underground railway. It had 2. The post office operated its own private tube line between 1927 and 2003. The so-called Mail Rail ran between Paddington and Whitechapel, transporting parcels across the capital. A driverless, miniature railway, running in total secrecy under the city for over 75 years, carrying nothing but letters and parcels, never once carrying a paying passenger. Fact 4. Now here's where geography turns into biology. Down in these tunnels, conditions are so isolated, warm, dark, cut off from the surface, that the local mosquito population is said to have evolved into a completely different species to those that live above ground. An entire creature, quietly evolving in the dark, just meters beneath the feet of everyday commuters. Fact 3. Back to the trains themselves, because one journey on this network is longer than you'd ever expect from a city subway. The longest single journey on one train is the 54.5-kilometer trip between West Ruislip and Epping on the Central Line. That's not a quick hop across town. That's a journey that could take you almost the entire width of Greater London on a single, uninterrupted ride. Fact 2. And yet, for all that distance, the Underground isn't exactly fast. The average speed on the Underground is 33 kilometers per hour, including station stops. That's barely faster than a determined cyclist. This entire vast, ancient, tunnel-riddled system, and on average, you're moving through it slower than someone on a bike above ground. Fact 1. And now, the fact that changes everything you thought you understood about this network. That map, the one in every carriage, the one every tourist and every local trusts, completely Harry Beck's 1933 design, ignored real distances and made it look like an electrical circuit. It isn't geography. It's a diagram. Stations that look like close neighbors on the map can sit miles apart in reality, and stations that look far away can be a 5-minute walk from each other. For nearly a century, millions of people every single day have been navigating London using a map that was never designed to be accurate. They just believed it was. Rivers no one can see, bodies no one remembers, a railway no one was ever allowed to ride, and a map that was never actually true. That's the London Underground, not just a way to get across the city, but a hidden second version of London itself, buried, forgotten, and running beneath the feet of 5 million people a day who have no idea what they're standing on. If you're from London, or you've ridden the tube and felt that strange, buried history feeling, I want to hear it. Tell me the station, the line, the moment it hit you that there is more going on down there than anyone lets on. I read every comment. Until the next one, stay curious. Look a little closer at the ground beneath your feet, and I'll see you underground.